average global surface temperature is approximately 15 degrees Celsius, or 59 degrees Fahrenheit. But today, dear listener, the warmest place we're going to talk about can get as low as negative 51 degrees Celsius, or negative 60 degrees Fahrenheit. But before we get to all that cold business, let me give you a warm welcome to another edition of the Tiny Tennish. I am your host, Nick Emel. The Tiny Tennish covers top 10 lists in about 10 minutes or less on the first Sunday of every month. And here on this first Sunday of December, where we're entering into the winter season, it seems like as good a time as any to talk about the top 10 coldest places where people actually live full-time. Now, before we get to that list, I want to talk about the history of humans and adapting to cold weather, because as you may know, we are not evolutionarily equipped to deal with cold weather. So how do we do it? I found this great article on sapiens.org. It was written by Laura Buck and Kyoko Yamaguchi. I'm going to read a snippet of it here. They said, "Humans are a tropical species. We have lived in warm climates for most of our evolutionary history. Indeed, all living apes are found in the tropics. The oldest known fossils from the human lineage come from Central and Eastern Africa. The hominins who dispersed north into higher latitudes had to deal with, for the first time, freezing temperatures, shorter days that limited foraging time, snow that made hunting more difficult, and icy wind chill that exacerbated heat loss from their bodies. But we didn't spread out of Africa until about 60,000 years ago, colonizing all parts of the globe. This makes us relative newcomers in most habitats we now inhabit. Our tropical legacy means we would still be unable to live in cold places without developing ways of coping with the temperatures. This human ability to adapt behaviorally was crucial to our evolutionary success. Even compared to other primates, humans show less physical climatic adaptation. Behavioral adaptation is quicker and more flexible than biological adaptation. Humans are the ultimate adapters, thriving in nearly every possible ecological niche." That is the end of the sapiens.org article. But what they're saying there at the end is humans have not physiologically adapted, biologically adapted to living in cold weather. Rather, we have behaviorally adapted. We've found ways to utilize our resources and our environment to make living in cold places possible. So, if you're wondering, winter temperatures around the world vary greatly, of course, depending on a location's latitude. Those closer to the equator have a warmer year-round temperature, while those closer to the poles have colder year-round temperatures and more extreme winters. And in this list that we're about to talk about, sub-zero temperatures are the norm. According to recent studies, approximately 47% of the Earth's landmass experiences predominantly hot temperatures, while around 53% experience predominantly cold temperatures, meaning there's actually slightly more cold places to live than there are hot places to live. And speaking of cold as fuck places, let's get to the list. We're looking at only full-time living cities, so little scientific research centers in Antarctica, for example, are not included in this list. Explore.com ranked these cities by the coldest average temperature in January. Important to note that I did find a few conflicting lists that had the ranking a little different, so if you ever look this up online and it doesn't match exactly what I tell you here, that's why. But this was the most consistent list I found. It again came from Explore.com, and I also pulled some information from World Population Review, Live Science, and our friends at Wikipedia. Let's start the top 10 coldest inhabitable places on this third rock from the sun. Number 10 is Yellowknife in the Northwest Territories in Canada. Their average January temperature is 4 degrees Fahrenheit, and their record low back in 1947 is negative 60 degrees Fahrenheit. Fucking nope. Just nope. That's all I got to say. Nope. This city is the only actual city in this territory in Canada. That's number 10, Yellowknife. Number 9 is Fairbanks, Alaska, with an average January temperature of negative 6 degrees Fahrenheit, and their record low in 1934 was negative 66. Fuck. Fairbanks, Alaska is located in a valley in the interior section of the state, which keeps it extra chilly. But this is also no small quiet town, because despite the extreme weather, the city's population was over 32,000 people as of 2021. That's not a bad-sized city, especially up there in Alaska. You can even see the gorgeous Aurora Borealis from Fairbanks, and in the summer, the sky stays light for almost 24 hours a day. I personally have never experienced that. Living somewhere or even visiting somewhere where it's light for 24 hours a day, I cannot imagine it. But then again, I can't imagine living any of these places, no offense. The next city on the list is in Mongolia. It's number 8. It's Ulaanbaatar. Could be saying that wrong. Apologies. They have an average January temperature of negative 9 degrees Fahrenheit. Their record low is negative 47, so their record low is actually warmer than number 9 and 10 on this list, which is interesting. Now, this town, Ulaanbaatar in Mongolia, is the country's capital. It's also the largest city in the region. The location sits 4,400 feet above sea level in the Mongolian steppes on the Tuul River, and it is the world's coldest national capital. capital. Almost 1.7 million people live here as of 2023, and that is a very high population for a place as cold as this. The next town is called, bear with me, Utqiagvik, Alaska. They're number 7, negative 12 degrees Fahrenheit is their average temperature in January, but their record low gets all the way down to negative 56 degrees. If you're not familiar with this town, again, it's Utqiagvik in Alaska. You might know it by the name Barrow. The citizens of this frigid city voted to change it to the name derived from the indigenous Inuit group known as the Inupiat. The population of Utqiagvik was 4,393 people. It is the northernmost city in the entire United States. Next is Dodinka, Russia at number 6, negative 12 degrees Fahrenheit is their average temperature in January. The city's population as of 2023 is over 22,000 people. It's technically a closed city, which means it can be very difficult to travel there. You got to get special permission to go there. Number 5 is Snag in Yukon, Canada, officially my new favorite town name of any kind, of any city, temperature regardless. Snag, Yukon, Canada, negative 14 degrees Fahrenheit is your average January temperature. Listen to this record low though. It came in the year 1947, negative 81 degrees. People live here. A lot of people. Well, a lot for the, relative to the region anyway. Snag, Canada resides in the Yukon Territory, which is about 2 times the size of the entire United Kingdom. However, the population of that entire region, the Yukon region, is 43,000 people. In fact, 98% of the Yukon is unorganized, which is land that has no official municipal or local government. Weather observer Gordon Toole was there at the time of this record low of negative 81 degrees in 1947, and it's reported that his breath actually, quote, fell to the ground in a white powder. I don't know about you, but I'd snag on out of Snag, Yukon, Canada. It's not for me. Number 4, though, the only Chinese city in the top 10, it's Harbin, China, who has a negative 18 degree Fahrenheit average temperature in January. Now listen to this. Despite negative 18 degrees as their January average and a record low of negative 63 degrees, they have a population of over 5 million people. That's by far the most populous city in this top 10. Harbin may be more populous, but they are not more cold than number 3, which is Coral Harbor, Nunavut, Canada. They have a negative 22 degrees Fahrenheit average January temperature with a record low of negative 63 degrees Fahrenheit. Coral Harbor is a small Inuit community on Southampton Island in Nunavut, Canada, and has been in use since 500 BCE. Today, only about 800 people live there. You don't fucking say. Negative 22 degrees average? Nope. So number 3, Coral Harbor, Canada. Negative 22 degrees Fahrenheit is their average January temperature, but they're not as cold as number 2, which is Yakutsk, Russia. Here in Yakutsk, Russia, negative 37. That's the average, friends. Why? Why are we doing this? You can live other places. Negative 84 degrees Fahrenheit is their record low. What's crazy about this city is that vendors who sell frozen fish at the market don't need to do anything other than just lay these floppy fish down outside because they will instantly freeze. You'll also see houses built on stilts so that the warmth of the place doesn't melt the permafrost and damage the foundation. Despite all this bullshit, about 1 million people live here. It's wild to me, but we're all the way at number 1. Finally, the coldest place where people live full time. It's also in Russia, Oymyakon in the Sakha Republic in Russia. The average temperature every January is negative 51 degrees Fahrenheit, and the record low, negative 90 degrees Fahrenheit. Wow, that might be why this village only has a little over 800 people here. It's in eastern Siberia, very close to the Arctic Circle. It is the coldest permanently inhabited place in the entire world. So if this shit's not bad enough, it's negative 51 degrees in January. It gets as low as negative 90 degrees Fahrenheit, but the nights can also be 21 hours long during the winter. Man, sign me up. I can't imagine why more people don't live here. Another fun fact is that some cars that are here are kept running at all times so that the engine doesn't freeze. This place just keeps getting better and better. Whew. That is Oymyakon, Russia. Let's go back through the top 10 coldest places. Number 10 is Yellowknife in Canada. Number 9 is Fairbanks, Alaska. Number 8 is Ulaanbaatar, Mongolia. Number 7 is Utqiagvik, Alaska. Number 6 is Dudinka, Russia. Number 5 is Snag in the Yukon in Canada. Number 4 is Harbin, China, the most populated city in this top 10, over 5 million people. Number 3 is Coral Harbor in Canada. Number 2 is Yakutsk in Russia. And number 1 with a negative 51 degree Fahrenheit average January temperature is Oymyakon in eastern Siberia in Russia. This list may have been cold, but you've helped me stay warm, dear listener. I love nothing more than to cuddle up with a blankie, some hot cocoa, and your ears, for me to whisper fun facts about top 10 lists into. Speaking of which, this top 10 list has concluded. Before you turn off my voice, please do me a favor and let me know what you thought of today's episode. Hit me up on social media at 10ishpod. That's at 10ishpod. There's links in the show notes to all of our social. You can also send me ideas for future Tiny Tennis episodes. I'll be back next month. Until then, stay warm, stay cute, stay tiny. Thank you.